So yeah, you guys managed to defeat a giant sludge undead monster thing, burn a pile of corpses, and speak to a crystal. It's a nice afternoon, isn't it?
And I got a special rock.
You did get a special rock. In fact, special rocks all around, I'd say.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I have, you know, the piece of crystal I put in my pocket ages, like, back when we first got in here. Is that now, I don't want to take it out, but is that now magic as well?
It has its magic restored, yes.
Right, okay, cool. I'm not saying anything about having it, though. I just wanted to know if I could sense. Anyway. Well, fine, I won't smash the crystal. Let's see if we can deal with the army another way.
I think I'm going to use my Druid craft, if that's okay, and try and send it to another crystal in a different location.
As you touch the crystal, you dim the light of it to a single point. You know, like not lava lamps. What am I thinking of? The things where the electricity like goes to where you're touching it.
Like a Tesla coil from last night.
Yeah, I've forgotten the thing.
Yeah,
like a plasma ball thing. Yeah. So yeah, the light sort of coalesces where your hand is and goes dark everywhere else. I think it might be worth you having a crystal that you have come face to face with before, one that you know of, and that exists in a location. Well, I mean, everything will exist in a location, but I mean, exists in a location that you are comfortable sending this power. So, if you want to, the glade where your order was, the people that inducted you into the Druid Order and trained you, you'll have had access to their crystal for a short amount of time, so you'll know where that is. And that's something that, as far as you're aware, you've got very powerful druids guarding it. They're able to shift where the glade is magically in the forest as well to evade detection.
They will have more knowledge of other crystals located elsewhere, so I think it's probably wise for me to send it there, but then also send a message amongst the trees. Can I do that? Can I send a whispers amongst the trees as part of my druid?
You can, if you want to, using the Druidcraft, teleport yourself and anyone else through the crystal to the glade and have a word with them directly if you want.
Yes, can I do that? I will
Yes.
do that.
Are you taking anyone else with you, or is it just going to be you disappearing into the rock for 5 minutes?
Just me really quickly.
Alright.
Oh, okay.
Anakis disappears into the crystal.
Bye guys.
BRB guys.
We'll truncate this on this occasion, but Abby, if that's right, in a future episode, I'd like to expand on this meeting that happens.
That's fine.
But for now, we'll truncate it to you've told them and come back.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will deal with it and they will send it on.
So yeah, you come back again, put your hand to the crystal, and the light disappears, fades from where your hand is entirely, and the chamber goes silent and dark.
Is the piece of crystal still magic now that it's done, though?
The pieces of crystal that you guys have are still magic, and the crystal itself is still doing its job. Like, the vines are still slowly receding, but now the crystal can't be used as like a magic hub.
Okay, cool. So guys, what now? We go back out and find Simon? Hope he's
Well,
okay.
So I maybe should have mentioned this to you, but it didn't seem pertinent at the time. So one of the bodies on my funeral pyre here may be the body of the man we were looking for. No
Right.
big deal.
What? And you've burnt him?
On fire?
Well, it was a dead body. There was nothing on him. I thought it best. It was my decision. I stand by it. But just some interesting news that might,
Do you not think that
Do you not think that's useful?
Do you want to like control flames or something and try and stop the body burning so we can try and pull it out?
Aiden's direction.
No, I don't mean control flames at Airden. I mean off of the funeral pyre so we can try and pull the body out.
Put out the fire. I'm going to control flames and move it in another direction.
You're able to do so easily. Looking through the charred bones, you find that there is a slightly more meaty corpse, but it is now charred beyond recognition.
Oh, Airden. This could have like proved that the dragon guy's pretending to be him, but no, body gone. Cool.
Well, I didn't know that at the time.
Well, no,
Obviously,
but you didn't have to go like fire happy with it.
Well,
Yeah,
it was a
fair
dead
enough.
body. It could have been corrupted. I find it best. I'm here to search our evil and make sure it's destroyed. This could have been evil. I mean, it's among loads of other dead bodies that just attacked us. I think anyone would agree that I was in the right here.
Well, what's done is done.
Yes, thank you, exactly. But just maybe something interesting for us to all, just be aware of, I think, for our future
Well, we need to go and
dealings.
tell Simon then.
That he is well and truly dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we
Yes.
head back and try and find Simon?
Yeah.
Okay.
You find that there is a steep climb for you to wade through the pool and get back up the way that you came, but there are other exits. The vines, while still receding, do have a certain amount of purchase for you to climb up the central hole, although it's quite a distance up. Another option is, as the vines start pulling away, you see that there is a hole, a walkway up into another part of presumably the Citadel.
Citadel?
Yes, but this will be a section that you guys have not been in before. So you can either try and climb up sheer rock for about 30 feet, or you can climb up some vines for about 30 feet up, and then along a ceiling for about 60 feet, and then back up a vertical tunnel for another about 100 feet or so.
Well, I could use my... Can I use spider climb on myself?
Yes, I believe so.
It says it's on one willing creature you touch.
Yes, you can touch yourself.
Yeah, you can.
Yay!
We almost was very, very good about that. There was a moment of...
No sex, please. We're British.
Oh, such a child.
I'm not.
Well, there's no point me going out to investigate and coming back in. We might as well all, if we're all gonna go, all go. But
It's literally up the steep slope or across the ceiling. Did you not say there was another?
Yes, so there is another hole that leads up a sloped passageway, and you can see that there's some stonework about 30 or 40 feet further up this tunnel, which suggests that this tunnel leads to the Citadel.
oh
Do
well.
we want to go to the Citadel, guys, or...?
Might as well explore if we're here.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go, Daniel? Do you want to go to the Citadel?
Sorry. Yes.
Eden.
Yeah. I
Alright.
kind of vote for the Citadel.
Yeah.
Seems the least difficult route, so...
I think I'll let you guys take the lead. I'm not too sure with the Citadel. I'm more at ease sort of out here in the outskirts. So I'll let you guys decide where we're going.
Can I try something that I don't know if it will work or not?
Yeah, go for it.
So I have my light crossbow, but I also have 50 feet of rope. Can I try and tie the rope to a bolt and fire my crossbow, kind of using it as like a grappling gun? Shooting the rope high up and then using the rope to, climb up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So you're just going to shoot straight up the hole that you guys were at the top of outside the Citadel?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So there's not going to be any attack roll for this. You fire the crossbow bolt. It lands in a vine that's very slowly coming down, but at a snail's pace. So you're not losing any distance in any discernible way. So you now have this 50 feet of rope heading up.
Awesome. I turn to everyone. You're welcome.
And you're welcome for us killing everything.
Can I give a tug on it to see if it's actually going to hold?
Before or after Airden starts climbing?
Let him climb first.
Either.
I'll hold a finger up to Amy, just...
No, I beckon. I say, no, please, ladies first.
Ladies first.
As Amy tugs on the rope, the bolt snaps. It appears that crossbow bolts are not really designed to carry the weight of an entire humanoid person.
Well done,
I look at him and say, "You're welcome."
I just look at Amy and go, "Now we've learned an important lesson here. You keep that. You remember that. That's my gift to you."
Up the other path, then.
As you ascend the path, there is this large lump, some chrysalis is set against one side of the corridor as you reach the top of it. It seems that at some point there was some creature in the midst of a battle. This spidery limbed pale creature is in an attacking pose. Her jaw long and distended. She's roughly humanoid, but she's trapped in this sort of amber chrysalis chamber, and she's just set against the side of the corridor, not moving. She seems to be entirely in stasis. The corridor then leans to the left, carries on to a small, what looks to be a guard room. There's a table, chairs, and some old cards that look like they've seen many centuries of weathering.
Quick question. How do I communicate with my patron? Or how do I, because I know I have a crystal that he wanted, how do I get it to him? And then I also want to give him all of this information.
So Enver is essentially your conduit to him for discussing things. Enver's in constant communication with your patron. But to physically see your patron, it's essentially whenever he wants. You can sort of request to see him, especially since you've got something that he wants. He will find some way of getting to you. You know that he favours natural environments, so if you can get outside to some grasslands or woodlands, preferably, then he'd rather meet you there. But in theory, he can come anywhere.
Okay, I'm gonna wait then.
So, is there anything past this guard room, or is there
Yes, continuing on to the guard room, you see that there is a very familiar looking metal sheet. It has been propped up by a skeleton who has been lifting this, stood underneath it, and is now frozen in position. So it's been lifted. You notice that there's just a bit of water covering the bottom of this chamber. So you see a bit of a walkway a pool of water that goes on for about 70 feet, and then another step, and you see the big metal grate on the other side, which presumably is the door that you saw the other side of.
Okay. So we need to go. Have we gone under the door? We need to go under the door.
You can easily climb under the door. It's been lifted about 4 feet, so it's just a quick duck under.
Okay. I was gonna. I can't tell if you're gonna like mess with us, so I'm gonna say, I stand with my hands under the door just in case it does suddenly drop while the others are going under it.
I go first. I push past.
Alright, Airden and Amy now on the other side of the door in this long chamber that's partially flooded.
I'll go.
I'll go quickly.
Alright, you all duck under the door. You're now all on the other side. The skeleton is still standing still.
Cool. Keep going then.
Alright. As you wade through the water, you notice a few things brushing against you, but dipping your heads under the water to grab a quick look reveals that mostly this is skeletons that are frozen underneath the water. They still hold weapons and things. You'll get the occasional scrape of a rusty blade against your legs, but because it's not an active thing, you're able to very quickly jerk your leg out of the way. When you feel it, none of you take any damage from it. It doesn't hurt you at all. But you're basically like swimming through a graveyard. Getting to the other side, you're able to easily manipulate the door. There is a lever on this side. And the mechanism easily works. You pull on it and the door raises all the way to the top. And now you're back in familiar territory. You can see that to the right is this collapsed bit of wall that leads to the tunnel that you will wash down into the chamber below. Ahead of you is the corridor that leads to the library, and furthermore leads out.
So, is this where we are now? Is this the Citadel?
Yes.
Like the Citadel that we've heard talking about?
Yes.
Oh, like okay. I didn't click that. That's when you were like, "Oh, at least the Citadel." I was like, "Oh, we're going like to that place that we talked right." Got it.
Yes, because it was all covered in vines and things, you guys weren't able to see like the stone walls and stuff. But that's what you're in.
Okay, cool. Right.
I'd already kind of looked around this place, hadn't I, for anything interesting or valuable.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Heading out. As you get outside, the birds and bugs are dispersing. You can see them disappearing onto the horizon. They are just going away. The vines... The vines, while retreating slowly, and you can see them sort of slowly creeping their way down into this hole on top of the hill that you're on, it's difficult to tell that there's a change in the broader environment. But as the vines sort of undulate and wave slightly, you do notice a small speck in the distance to the west. You see Simon and the wagon still there.
And horse? Did horse make it back? The horse.
The horse made it back.
Oh, okay. Whew. Thank God.
I
said that, not Airden.
I heard that.
I was trying to decide if from this distance you could see and maybe like stretch this out a bit, but no. You can tell that the horse is there and is fine. The return journey will still be dangerous in terms of navigating moving vines and things. But since you're a bit more savvy on all of this, I will ask for the entire 3-mile journey. It is only going to be a single roll, and it's going to be with advantage. I would like you all to make a Constitution saving throw.
18.
18.
15.
6.
He loses another bit.
You're losing another dude.
I replaced those boots already.
You lose him again.
As you're finally seeing the end of these vines, you see Simon on his wagon, standing up, staring at you guys, waving frantically. A massive thorny vine whips its way across the path, and then as it moves out of the way, catches on to Amy's armour. She very quickly flicks it off, and as she does so, the thorn dislodges from the vine, flies through the air, and sticks into Daniel's trousers, ripping them and cutting his leg slightly.
That makes it sound like my fault. I'm sorry, it wasn't me.
You take just 2 hit points of damage, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth writing it down, since a restful journey is bound to happen.
I would be waving to Simon with just, I don't know, like an excited child, 2 hands in the air, basically jumping up and down. Almost the entire way. Stop every now and then, because I get tired, but...
When you finally get to the end of the vines, Simon climbs down from the wagon, rushes over, and embraces each of you in a hug. First going up to Amy, gives you a quick hug.
I mean, I make it longer. I make it last.
It then gives you a double pat, so sort of like a... Okay, that's enough. Moves on to Anakis, and then Airden, and then as he approaches Airden, he catches eye contact with Airden for a moment, then just...
Yes, good choice.
What happened? Did you find my friend Maerka? What occurred in the centre?
We saw so many things, Simon. It was amazing. I wish she'd been there.
Merker's dead body was one of them.
Break it gently.
Yeah. I kind of give Airden a shove. And then say, Simon, I'm so sorry, but your friend has passed from this world now.
He's dead.
That's what that means,
Airden gave him a really respectful funeral, though. So
yeah.
Yes.
And I sort of clunk him round the head.
I'm glad.
Remembering all this.
I'm glad he's at peace. He was certainly troubled when I last saw him.
Troubled in what way?
Oh, out of sorts. He didn't seem himself. While we were navigating through the vines, he would occasionally go missing, and when we met up again, he just didn't quite seem himself.
When did you last see him? How long ago was it?
It was just before the last thing I can remember, which is terrifying jaws and bloodshot eyes. I assume it's these strange bear creatures I was running from. I was a little bit drunk at the time.
How long time, though? How many days or weeks?
About a week.
Was the body more decayed than a week?
A medicine skill check was not performed, and so an accurate reading cannot be garnered.
I mean...
And Airden lit him on fire before we could even try.
Airden is kind of looking away, suddenly very interested in something else.
Then I say, being fully trusted of Simon, I say, well, I didn't get a long enough look at his body to tell, but we have learned that there is someone pretending to be him currently. So it could have been that the last time you saw him, you saw this other person pretending to be him, and that's why he was odd. We plan to get to the bottom of this, though, as it's causing problems.
So, someone who looks like Maerka is still around somewhere.
Yes. We believe he's leading an army. I don't know if you know anything about this army.
No, it's. I don't pay much attention to local politics.
Well, we believe they're coming for summoning.
Oh.
And this crystal here. But then to attack something.
In that case, we should do something. I'm not quite sure what. And the vines, they're moving inwards. Is everything like? Is there anything corrupting at the center?
No, we've fixed everything.
We fixed
Uh,
the corruption.
Anakis cured the crystal.
We all, as a team, managed to find a solution, Simon.
Some help
Uh-huh.
more than others.
You were wandering inside some sort of monster entertaining yourself. You were
Yes, well, I was distracting it while you killed all my enemies for me.
yeah.
And solved the crystal puzzle.
Kill all your enemies. We
At this, I look to Simon with, in animes where their eyes get like stars and they're really excited. She basically looks at him like this and she's like, and I say, I did so much radiant damage, Simon, I wish you'd seen it. It was so beautiful.
He claps a hand on your shoulder, and says, "Well done. I'm glad you were able to hurt things. I am assuming it was evil.
Yes. I only hurt what needs to be hurt.
Well done, Amy." At this, a shout rings out. It is a very happy shout. You hear the call of a "Hola!" And in the distance, you see
Xander?
rolling up in another wagon.
I was too happy to be Xander.
Rolling up in another wagon, a pair of gnomes, carrying on the back of the wagon a familiar-looking elven druid. So, no, it is Daenerys.
Tinnitus.
I sort of wave and say, "Hi, Tinnitus!"
Me and Eden look slightly deflated. doesn't
Yeah.
it? Oh.
Yes, as the wagon pulls ever closer, Simon squints for a moment, and his eyes widen, and he runs up towards this wagon. The small man riding this wagon then leaps off, and Simon catches him in a hug, and the two of them do a little pirouette, and then he sets the man down. "Oh, you are a sight for sore eyes." The two of them exchange further pleasantries while the woman that has been left driving the wagon pulls up next to you guys, sets the reins down, and pulls herself over to the side of the bench. "Would anyone like some tea?"
Oh, yes, please.
Very good. How do you take it?
Green leaf tea, please.
Only the best. And she goes into the back of her covered wagon, and you can hear a boiling kettle for a few seconds, and then she comes out with a cup. She offers beverages to everyone, and also brings out a small plate of sandwiches.
I don't suppose you
That's service.
see any nuts or any bits of vegetable or anything?
She thinks for a moment, rummages into the back, and pulls out a small sack, which she sort of shakes a little bit. "It's mostly dried fruit pieces. Is that all right?"
I'll just take a few. It's just for this little guy, and I sort of open my jacket. Nukin is just sort of standing there quite happily, and he comes out and sits on top of my shoulder.
Oh,
And
he's
just like
gorgeous! You then note that from beneath her very bright silvery hair on her shoulder pokes out a small lizard. Its black eyes blink sideways. It forks its tongue out slightly and then nuzzles back into her hair.
Who is that? Oh, I've never seen anything like that before. What is it?
Iresha, the woman that you are speaking to, introduces you to Norman. Norman the Lizard.
Oh, hello, Norman. He's probably in the way now. Never mind.
Resha lets you know that she and Tubanan, the gentleman, are travelling traders. That they'd heard that Simon had set a course for this area, and they knew how dangerous it was, and that they decided to follow and see if they could render any aid. Tubanan and Simon seem to have finished the catching up and wander back over to the group of you. And Taneris is also in tow.
Is there anywhere nearby that looks like secluded? Or like anywhere I could go where people aren't watching?
Well, you've got...
Mind your business, Airden. Well, people are like eating and drinking and catching up and stuff. If I could like, is there like trees, or can I? Is there like a corner of the Citadel I can like?
So the vines are coming back to life, so to speak. So you could easily like move away from the wagons, go to the edge of the vines, and make contact there. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, like, but I'm looking for good seclusion, not like
good
like,
seclusion.
Yeah. So not like just the first place that you're at a site. I'm not going to stop there, but like maybe I can find like a little thing to go into the vines a little bit. Like I want to be hidden. That's
okay.
The purpose.
Do I notice her sneaking off?
Mind your business,
Airden. This will be your passive perception again, which was 14 if memory serves.
Yeah.
Eden, if you're wanting to be particularly inconspicuous, could you please give me a stealth skill check, but I will let you use your choice of either dexterity or charisma as the stat that governs this.
I'm trained in it.
So you would get your proficiency modifier, but
Yep.
you get to choose if you're adding your dexterity mod or your charisma mod.
Oh, well, that's obviously charisma, yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. 13. 19.
19. So with a few well-placed nods and verbal responses to questions and general statements being made in the group, Airden is sufficiently convinced that you are sticking around, and as he turns away and looks back, you are gone. And does not know where you've gone, but he knows that you have. Travelling for about 10 minutes away from the group and sort of curving round to the north, there is a small ravine. Enver will sort of lead you to there. So that there's a ravine set in the grasslands where the vines are sort of spread out towards. And as they're starting to recede and pull back, you've got this sort of like gap between rocks that you can hide in. As you do, you get this warm breeze, pollen that's so thick that you can see it hanging in the air, along with a few small floating seeds just start dancing out of the vines, and pushing through them a gigantic green hand and the form of Selendar, your patron. He steps forward. He stands up straight. He has deer horns rising up from between dark green hair with flowers woven between different braids. He is bare-chested, wearing a very thick leather belt and fur trousers, which makes him look sort of satyr-like. But you note that his cloven hooves have a very thin fuzz of fur on the legs, rather than his fur trousers being a part of him. And he stands over you, 9 feet tall, leans in close with a smile and a nod.
You know what I'm going to ask? Is he cute?
He is exceptionally attractive for a fae. Yes, he's a fae prince.
I see that fan art.
So he is.
Airden.
He is stacked. He's muscular. Yes, he is very attractive. Very fair features, that typical of like an elf.
I mean, you'd work extra hard for someone that's attractive, right? You know? I get the job's done.
After he nods and smiles towards you, he looks over at Enver and gently strokes over his head. And you notice Enver get a bit of a sort of chill down his spine, and a few sprouts, green leaves sprout out from different parts of his body, almost as if he's energized, he's nourished by Selendar's touch. He then sits down so that he's not towering over you, sits cross-legged, as though he's giving you all the time that you want and need, but also that he's not above you in this particular circumstance.
Oh,
Please.
he's nice too.
Sit, Eden.
I was so tempted to go sit in his lap, but I'll just sit on the floor. You really weren't specific. Yeah, I'll sit close though.
How have you been?
I've been very well, and I'll hold out the whatever green gem or whatever he wanted. I don't even care. Just take it. Here.
He slowly picks it up, holds it between two fingers. It's tiny in his hands. He turns it over and then stuffs it under his belt. And then as he turns back towards you, he takes your hand in his. Thank you.
That's not all. And I'm going to tell him everything. Maerka, the crystal, everything. Everything. Maerka being dead, the dragon, the talking, everything. Everything.
As you're explaining to him, he listens attentively, occasionally nodding when you can tell that he's processing something. His eyes sort of dart away. He nods thoughtfully and then turns back to you. While you're explaining all of this to him, everyone else is starting to get to know Chubanan and Iresha. Iresha has brought out stools for everyone, sat you all down, got you all drinks and sandwiches. Chubanan, he's got a bit of a pot belly going on, some glasses that he's got on the end of his nose, and he's got a ponytail that he's got tied back. You note that he's very relaxed. Iresha is sort of running around doing lots of things. Then Simon points this out and jokes with the rest of you that Chubanan seems to be incapable of playing host. At which point Iresha gives a knowing look towards him, darts her eyes towards the wagon, and Chubanan immediately gets up, seemingly agitated, and rushes towards the wagon and pulls out a small satchel, sets it down on the ground. Not entirely useless. Russia gives As he slowly opens the satchel, he then pulls out a pole from it. It seems to be like a curtain rail. And then he hands it towards the group, mostly looking at Airden and Anakis, noting that Amy seems fairly well armoured, and this seems to make Chubanan uncomfortable.
I just look at him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of step back and kind of let Anakis deal with it.
I just sort of say, what is this?
Oh, yeah, yes, a rest.
A tent?
Yes. Iresha, explain to them. She sits down, crosses her legs, sips her tea. It's a magical tent, dear. You simply hold it above your head, give it a little flick. It's all in the wrist, you see. And a tent appears. It should be suitable for you and your companions and Simon to have a sleep in. It's perfectly safe, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. There isn't quite enough room in our wagon to sleep everyone, and I don't think you'd want to sleep under the stars, especially with everything that's happened recently.
May I? And I step forward and take it.
Excuse me.
Airden now has it.
No. Talking to me. Not you.
I think he was just talking to the group. I've taken the initiative here, and I just start walking away to find a place to try it out.
I sort of run after him. One side. And I said we will do it together. She's like your mom. Ready after 3. 1, 2.
I'm not giving it to you. I've still got it. I mean, it's like spoilers. I'm not wanting to share this with anyone.
It's not a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler, yeah.
Abby,
You don't share.
Yeah.
could you give me a strength athletics skill check, but make it with advantage? Airden, could you give me the same, but not with advantage?
So what was this? Sorry, a strength.
Yeah, strength athletics.
Okay.
Oh, with advantage?
Yes, Anakis makes it with advantage.
I got 13.
Oh, well, neither are great. 11.
So as Anakis grabs a hold of it, Airden struggles with it back towards him. Nutkin scrambles down Anakis' arm and bites into Airden's hand.
It's gonna bite him.
At which point Airden simply flicks his wrist, yanks the pole out of Anakis' hand, and Nutkin is now just sat on the end of Anakis' arm, disappointed.
At this point, I just sort of, I'm gonna produce some flames on my fingers and just tap his hand and burn it a little bit.
Okay.
That's for hurting my squirrel.
Don't want to do that. How far do I want to take this?
This is going to be a full-blown fight.
Because I do have something which is a reaction. However, even for Airden, it's maybe a bit too much. So you just try and tap me to just like singe me a little bit.
Yeah, as if to say, don't hurt Nutkin.
I'll like look at her as if I'm considering, as if I'm like I'm holding myself back, and I'll just walk away with the tent.
All right.
I'll run after him.
You guys are now sufficiently far away from the wagons that it's safe to test this thing out. Airden, activating it.
Yeah.
Yep. As you flick it above your head, the pole sits rigidly in the air. Fabric then drapes down from this copper-looking pole until it reaches the ground, the pole hovering in the air, and then a tent sort of explodes from the edges of it and wraps around. It looks like a small 2-man tent, but you've got a good, 5.5 feet, 6 feet height to the tent. It's one that you could stand up in, maybe hunching over.
Is it bigger on the inside?
I go inside.
It is bigger on the inside.
Yeah!
Do I manage to get inside first?
Yes, you are. As you set it up, you are standing immediately in front of the one-person doorway. So Anakis would need to barge past you in order to get in first. Wandering inside. Airden and Anakis, being inside, see that there is set up a table that is about 6 by 2. There are 6 stools, and the ground is wooden planked, and there are 4 candelabras set up. Set up with candles already lit. It is warm, but not uncomfortably so in here, and you've got this faint smell, as if you're in like an old haberdasher's. It's the smell of old fabric.
Is there like a place for a fire or anything like that, or?
There isn't, no. There also aren't beds here, but the floor is a soft wood, and so you could set up like a bedroll.
Yeah, I think I've got a bedroll. Yeah, I've got like camping gear. I think. I don't want. Got anything? Yeah. I'm just gonna sort of say, well, it looks sort of quite cosy. I think it'll do for the night. Safe.
I nod and just go, yes, it does. Yes, this is great. Yep.
On the inside, it looks like you could easily sleep 8 people while still having this table set up as well.
Wow. I go back out and I sort of relay this information. I say that there's enough space for people to sleep in, and I can get a fire going.
Can I, before that, so while they're doing all of the tent faffing, and when it ends up just me and Simon and these 2 new people now by myself, as soon as they're out of sight, I turn to Simon, and first of all I give him back his religious thing that he gave me to keep hold of, and then I pull out the shard of crystal, and I pass it over to him, like trying to be quiet about it. It's like, you know, I just kind of push it towards him and say quite quietly, don't tell the others that I've given you this.
Thank you. I will confess, I did not anticipate you coming back. I was terrified that the same fate would befall you as befell the others. Thank you for bringing this back to me.
It's okay. He seemed to want it badly and need it badly, and yeah, I just thought you should have some. I advised to stop sending people down there though, trying to take more pieces.
Yes. It seems that there's certainly a lot more maturity needed to fully understand all of this. I know that there is great power there, and it could benefit a lot of people. I just wish there was a good way to harness it.
Well, I think for now it needs to stay being the land's power, but hopefully this piece will be enough to either bring you the money that you needed, or some sort of magic. I think it has something in it. I don't know. Yeah, brought it back for you.
There is an opportunity here for anyone with anything specific that they want to achieve to attempt it now. But if not, is everyone comfortable leading into a long rest at this point?
I have stuff I want to achieve during the long rest, but I guess we'll leave that.
I do as well, actually.
Time.
What we're going to do then is this is going to be a long rest leading into downtime. There is nothing immediately pressing. There is an army that is 3 weeks away. So what we will do is we will have a closing denouement I will just narrate an extra little thing that happens as night falls, and that will be the end of this adventure. And we'll carry on in a fortnight. The characters having leveled up, rested. They've spent some time doing some things, and of course they'll be able to do any investigations and other little activities, whatever they want to do in their downtime, which we'll organise between now and then, and let you guys know what happened.
I was going to say, maybe we shouldn't say a fortnight, because a fortnight, I don't know, in 2 weeks' time we might not. Depends.
Ooh, yes, that's a very good point. In a fortnight and a day, my daughter will be being induced from my wife. Is that the right way of putting it?
That's a weird way to put it. Very weird.
So yeah, wife's pregnant, and she's being induced on the 16th. Now, in a fortnight is the 15th. If things are going according to plan, then we will be here in a fortnight. If they don't, then it won't. So we'll keep you guys posted. Definitely follow us on Instagram and Facebook to get updates on that. We'll keep you apprised of what's going on. But we will seek to have as little disruption as possible. And so, there being a hospital appointment the following day is not going to stop me from coming online and doing this. So,
Sure.
If it comes along earlier.
Yes, that would be the only thing that disrupts things to this degree. However, when we next see you all, we will discuss what the characters were up to during that spell. But as night falls, all of you are interacting with each other, all these new NPCs, these new people, Simon, Jubanan, Aresha, and Salandar. There
Lots
is
of interaction.
in the distance, staring with eyes that emit smoke and flame, listening to the occasional peal of laughter coming from your small encampment, holding a goblin's head in his hand and a bloody dagger in the other, stands Xander atop a hill, overlooking things, as he crushes the head in his hand. Flames erupt from between his fingertips and almost melt the skull. And then he drops it to the ground, sheathes his blade, turns, swishes his cloak, and disappears into the night.
It's hot.
Oh, I can't wait to kill it.
Oh, don't be jealous.
God.